and welcome to the latest news from Research into Use. And we start with the news that the aims of RIU to accumulate and evaluate evidence on which we can shape and share lessons on the best ways to build innovation in agriculture were right on line with a major new report that's been produced. It's called the Foresight Report, and you'll see mention of it in the Director's Update. The report involved 25 different countries and 400 experts. And in simple terms, it found that 1 billion people are going hungry and a further 1 billion are malnourished. And that unless something is done about this global food situation, there's simply not going to be enough food to go around. Now, the man behind the report is the UK's Chief Scientific Advisor, Professor Sir John Beddington. He was interviewed on one of my favourite radio programmes. It's called the Today programme on the BBC here in the UK. And I found his comments extremely interesting related to RIU when he talked about the implications of the report in the continent of Africa.
We've got to generate, pose the problems, and then look to both communities, the scientific community, the agricultural community, the economists and the politicians to try to actually address these problems.
And even when you say something as apparently simple as we've got...
So interesting comments there from the UK government's Chief Scientific Advisor. But my ears also pricked up when he went on to talk about one of the ways forward to alleviate this problem is the better use of existing agricultural land.
I think the key thing, though, is that we're not making any more land. We have got to look for a significant and sustainable intensification of agriculture. We have got to be looking to produce much more agricultural products from the same units of land.
This month, we also have a couple of stories looking at the positive impact that RIU is having on the environment. RIU Tanzania has reported that 40 of the people recruited to its poultry contract farming enterprise had formerly been involved in illegal tree felling and charcoal making. RIU Zambia has been reporting a similar effect, but with their rice cultivation programme being the draw away from charcoal making. In the news story on the RIU website, Ian Maudlin commented, "It makes a welcome change to hear that livestock can contribute positively to the environment. All too often, we only hear the case against livestock." RIU is also involved in important work to try to reduce the dependency on chemicals in crop production. And the RIUIPM company is involved in efficacy trials for 3 different products. Trichoderma, a fungus to control a microorganism that affects pineapples, Metarhizium, a fungus for control of mealybug on papaya, and a baculovirus for control of bollworm on tomatoes. As a result, Ghana is on the verge of having biological control agents commercially available in the country for the first time. We've been looking at communications over the last few weeks and the progress made with some of our programmes, not least Shoejazz. And I was able to talk to Rob Burnett about the progress made by that project, and I started by asking him about some interesting research that's just been carried out on their behalf.
The results were knockout for us. We were absolutely thrilled, amazed actually by the extent to which we'd already at that stage, just after 6 months of activities, 50% of Kenyans under 35 said that they were aware of our radio show, and I think 26% of young people under 35 had come across our comic book. So for us, that was a massive result. And at the same time, young people saying, well, actually, I've gone out and I've applied some ideas. I've tried planting sukuma in a sack. That was one of the most popular things people said that they had done. Or, of course, we deal with a lot of issues. So a lot of people saying that they felt differently about tribalism. Now, for us, that's another big result. And that they had indeed been dealing with authority in new ways. And that they had learned about chicken vaccines. That was another one. That they were aware for the first time about their ability to influence the outcomes on their livelihoods.
RIU Zambia has achieved private sector sponsorship from a seed company for its radio drama programmes and also works closely with a number of community radio stations. In Tanzania, radio coverage of the indigenous poultry contract farming scheme, Kuku Deal, meant that the phones literally went mad with people trying to find out how to be involved. 2,000 people have now signed up as contract chicken farmers. This is a tremendous result, especially as it's a system of farming which has not been promoted before in the coastal region for poultry. All this information is being collated and added to the media coverage section of the website. Meanwhile, the communications section of the website itself has been overhauled, and we have a new section of audio reports made by AgFacts reporting RIU's progress.
Frequently forced to accept rock-bottom prices. They simply cannot afford to wait till later in the year when prices have risen.
And in the RIUtv section, we have a new feature called RIUtv Meets, which has around 70 short films, in each a different expert, from farmers to former vice presidents. They explain about different aspects of the RIU programme. Here are some of the extracts.
I don't know of any program in Uganda and in many countries in Africa which are actually linking the universities with young people who are the future of food security in every country.
But while bearing that in mind, there is need to control the disease burden in Africa.
And I think that does change the dynamic for governments in terms of corruption.
Instead, everybody is doing his own thing. This man is working here, this man is working here. And then suddenly somebody came up and said, my name is RIU. And I want you to come and do this work for me.
So RIU spells out its success right from the beginning. Research, we are here to make sure that the research we are doing is put into use.
Those last films were from the recent RIU learning event that was held in Nigeria and show some of the things that the innovation platforms most valued. They were asked to produce success stories that summed up RIU for them. Time now to look at the Aquashops programme, and as you'll see, it's proving to be a great success. Farm Africa's research identified 6 franchise areas in Western Kenya which have the greatest commercial potential. The first 6 franchisees have been recruited, and full details of the entrepreneurs setting up Aquashops can be found on the RIU website. There are good partnerships being brokered with Moi University for training various private sector providers of inputs, and the Kenya Bureau of Standards for the development of quality standards. The official launch of Aquashops is on the 11th of February, so no doubt we'll be covering that event in next month's news. Elsewhere, RIU Nigeria has been doing great work on the supply chain to the fish feed mills which make fish feed, and RIU Malawi has been working on hatchery standards in collaboration with the ministry. Malawi has also reported progress on their hatcheries loan scheme, which is building capacity in a number of private sector tilapia hatcheries. This reduced the distance farmers have to travel to get fingerlings. This cuts costs and significantly reduces mortality rates of the transported fish. So the collaborative working practice from the innovation programmes are really starting to have an impact. RIU has started to analyse the gender impact of its work. We told you a while ago about the RIU discussion paper 6 on gender and innovation. Furthermore, this week, Grace Jokthan from RIU Nigeria and Agnes Ingwu from ADA have been to the gender and market-oriented agriculture event organised by our colleagues at ILRI. We've also had data from RIU Rwanda, which shows that 40% of the warrantage loans were made to women. And the maize programme in Rwanda has had a good month. Nyagatare Maize Investment Group, Nyamig, the commercial arm of the RIU Rwanda-backed maize innovation platform, has received an additional contract to supply 825 tonnes of maize to the World Food Programme, following the first contract for 400 tonnes successfully completed a few months ago. RIU Rwanda is also helping colleagues in the Democratic Republic of Congo to export the warrantage model there. Congratulations to RIU Malawi for the opening of the pig markets. Even more so because Director of Animal Health and Livestock Development from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr Wilfred G. Lepita, was the guest of honour and was fulsome in his praise for the programme and said he wanted to see if funds could be found to replicate the scheme. Congratulations also to the Real IPM team, who've recruited 30,000 people for their Grow Plus trial. We'll be reporting back on this in a future news bulletin. The evaluation work is currently in its second phase. The review of 2 projects in Asia has just been completed, and focus now turns to West Africa. Tim Robertson, who was leading the evaluation team, has now taken up a new role in the World Bank, and I'm pleased to say that Dermot Shields now heads the team and is going to come and talk to RIUtv very soon. And finally, Research into Use has a new home at Research into Results, which is a subsidiary of the University of Edinburgh. Everybody at RIU has worked very hard to make the changeover as smooth as possible. You can see all the new contact details here on the website. And don't forget, you can also sign up for information from this news bulletin and more about all the activities of RIU this month in the highlights service just below this screen. Well, that's all from me this month. Hope you'll join us on RIUtv News next month. Bye for now.